Welcome, everyone. My name is Jacob. Thank you for joining me. This is Hunt Detail, and hope everyone's having a great week. Hope you had a chance to maybe get out and put some trail cams out or do some other things related to the outdoors. Maybe it's vacation season for you, and maybe you were out boating like I was this past weekend, and trying to get all the projects wrapped up personally. I've talked a little bit about the deck project that's we'll continue to go forward, but want to get that sort of buttoned up and some other vacation stuff buttoned up. And obviously, we're getting closer to September, October, November, December, all that great stuff. Don't want to wish the summer away. I really don't. It's a great time of year. The days are long. But it is exciting to think about this coming fall. I have to say, I'm still kicking myself that I didn't go for an elk tag this year. I thought it was the right decision. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to miss a September going forward because this one, it stings a little bit. I'm excited about my mule deer hunt, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about elk hunting that is different for me. And I think I've mentioned it before. It's physical and mental trauma, and but it's one of those things that on the other side of it, you miss it, you appreciate it for what it is, the textures of difficult hunts, the grit, the grind, the rewards that you get occasionally. I mean, last year I had just a giant public land elk in a unit that had not great elk density, and I knew that. Huge. I mean, it is really, I think, almost, I would say, close to the size of my Pennsylvania elk, which my Pennsylvania elk was 375. That the mass and the size of this thing, and he came ripping up this ridge. I had bugled, and he started breaking and busting brush on purpose. And he came up ready to fight and potentially kill something. And he was 20 yards from me. And it was one of those situations where I made a lot of right decisions. And I don't even know if I made any wrong decisions. It's just I was hunting solo. And if you have someone that's off calling 60 yards behind you, it's a different story. He came up, and it was just too thick. There was no way I was getting an arrow through it. But boy, he was 20 yards away, breathing heavy. I mean, just ready. He was ready to kill something. And it was one of those moments where I'm a little bit, it's almost a little bit scary. And it didn't work out, but it's something that's emblazoned into my mind as one of my great experiences. But you don't go out there for those. I mean, you go out there for those, of course, but the ultimate prize is to fill the tag. And even if I would have, I think there were about 1,000 spots on that ridge that I could have positioned myself, and I think only 2 or 3 would have ended up in a dead elk. So I'm comfortable with how that rest of that hunt transpired. I was truly in the game in different scenarios, but it was a branch antler only situation, and I was close to cows and some a spike bull within I don't know, maybe 15 yards at different points of the hunt. But ultimately, I'm a little disappointed in myself for not going this year. I have some other personal situations where I'm like, you know what, it's probably not the right year anyways. But there's only so many Septembers, and kind of hate to burn this one um, and not be in the elk woods. But I was this weekend gonna do some scouting on, or pull a camera that I had thrown a camera up on a piece of public late last year. I want to say, I guess it was December, maybe October. I have to look at the pics again. But what was interesting is that a tornado came ripping through that area, that exact area where I had that trail cam. And there were trees. I mean, this is the first time I've been back. Trees everywhere, war zone on their side, giant, giant oaks. I mean, everywhere on their side. And it just blew my mind that the camera was on a standing tree, which there wasn't many left. And it had taken some pictures, but another tree had fell into it. So a lot of the pictures were, I mean, this tornado came through in May, I believe, but it had a bunch of pictures of a dead tree or the tree falling over on it or whatever, but it didn't have any action photos of trees falling. That would have been really neat. Nothing cool like that. But unfortunately, this spot, which was bumped up to private, was a really unique spot. And I had really high hopes of even just sort of using it as a, a fill my doe tag sort of spot. It's not, I just don't think I'm going to hunt it, honestly, now. I mean, it is truly a war zone. I'm sure the deer use it on some capacity, and I'm sure they will it's on some level, but I don't know. It's really unbelievable. It's like a giant hand came down and just knocked everything over. And anyways, that's a bit disappointing. We're giving away some Relight for the month of July to celebrate this month. Relight is an electrolyte mix that has 0 sugar. It's a bit like if you like Gatorade, this stuff is true electrolytes and again has 0 sugar. It's made here in the USA, comes out of Utah. And the company is called Redmond's. They make salts and seasonings. They have this steak seasoning that I'm looking forward to trying. And the winner for this week is Jeff. Jeff, all Jeff did was DM to me on Instagram the word detail. And everybody that does that is entered to win a sample pack of Relight. You get like 6 or 7 sticks, different flavors. I'm going to send Jeff that and a couple of Hunt Detail stickers. I'm also, if you don't win one of those sample packs, you're going to get a single stick of Relight and a couple Hunt Detail stickers. So everyone really wins. So go to Instagram, find me Hunt Detail, message me the word detail, and you're in, and you're going to win something. So congratulations on that. And then the word detail on Redmond's. If you're interested in getting some Relight, checking out the salt. Again, this is all comes out of Utah. It's great stuff. Use the word detail. You save 15% on your order, which is really good. I mean, that's a really good discount. Also, Raw Rev makes protein bars. Different company, different supporter of the podcast. Raw Rev, high protein, 2 to 3 grams of sugar. Great stuff. Really like a peanut butter base protein bar. I like the dark chocolate chip peanut butter. And it's use the word detail, save 20% on your first order. So order a big order, and you're going to save 20%. Don't just order something small. Order something big because it's only on your first order. But appreciate their support as well as Redmond's with the Relight. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Hunt Map apps. I've done on the Hunt Detail YouTube channel 2 different evaluations of these apps. I think I did one about 3 years ago, and I did one about a year ago or so. And as I point out in these evaluations, I point out that technology changes quickly. And of course, prices change as well. So the value of one particular app can change literally overnight. And I'm going to do another eval in this coming December, January timeframe after the season. It's an easier time where I can sort of sit down and literally use every app platform. I tend to look at the desktop and the handheld versions and evaluate them and give them a score accordingly. And the first eval that I did I would say 3 years ago, and that YouTube video is terrible. Like it's like an hour plus long, and I've gotten a lot better, obviously, as most of us do over time with things. I've gotten a lot better in terms of communicating information in a much shorter, acute time frame. So, but I wanted to share some of the updates that I've seen over the past year with some of these Hunt Map app platforms. Now, I would say in my most recent evaluation, which was a year ago, HuntWise was at the top. HuntWise, I think, is $60. You get all 50 states, and it is feature rich. I mean, they really have a lot of great features. They've have weather. They've always had sort of a weather integration into the app. They've have land ownership, but they also they'll give you a phone number to the landowner. They have I found that the different layers are very crisp, and the interface is very strong, but I haven't really seen many updates. And for the purposes of this podcast, I thought I'd like go to their YouTube channel, and I see a lot of hunts, sponsored by HuntWise or that sort of thing. And that's great, but I don't see a lot of updates. So it's not saying that that's a bad app. I've always been impressed with it, but they haven't had a lot of updates. And I think when it comes to the products within our niche of hunting, whether you use them in your state or in several states, or if you just hunt out west, whatever you do, I think when you have an organization or a company that you feel like is truly connected to its user, you see that innovation, you see that evolution. And maybe HuntWise is connected and maybe they aren't. I just don't hear a lot of noise from them in and I consume a lot of content, and so I don't know. I don't see any updates there. I will say that it looks like HuntStand, which on my latest review a year ago, that was the worst, and I had thought that HuntStand was a good platform in previous evaluations, but I was wrong. Well, apparently they've done an overhaul of the interface. They have some overlays. They have rut dates on the app now for every state for whitetail. It's very whitetail centric. And I will say, if you're going to be hunting mule deer or elk or something like that, I don't think HuntStand is for you. May have changed, and I haven't done a full deep dive, but I do understand that they've done some overhaul on their interface and some other things. So hopefully they have evolved in a very positive way. But I would say BaseMap is sort of, in my opinion, on the lower end as well in terms of a hunt map app. I did notice that they're starting to have limited and OTC hunts like as a filter so that you can do some hunt research while you're on the app in terms of like, oh, I want to go hunt elk in a western state. So what areas and that sort of thing. They also have added, like, they have a land ownership guarantee. So I think that their commitment maybe is to say, hey, we might not be great at everything, but we know who owns this piece of property, that sort of thing. It comes in, I think they're about at $40, you get all 50 states. And it's, I thought some of the things that they have to offer are strong. I don't see sort of a connection between the hunting base, the hunting community, and some of the needs, and then sort of an evolution. So again, I don't think BaseMap. I think BaseMap is a little bit better in my opinion than HuntStand, but it's kind of a close race there. Some of the brands, some of the platforms that have changed a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about. I guess I'll start with GoHunt. Now, GoHunt, they are a company that does a lot of different things. They have a gear shop, which I really like, the gear shop, and they have a really strong rewards program. They also have hunt, draw application strategies and points, and for a lot of different Western species. They're based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I've visited their HQ a couple maybe a year and a half ago, and or maybe I think it was maybe just about a year ago. And they're a company that I feel like is really connected with their users and in a lot of different ways. Now, I've always been a fan of their app. They've recently added or made an evolution or augmented their roadless uh, area. And so on the map where you can sort of find where there are less roads, if that's an area, if that's important to you as it relates to hunting. They have real-time weather. They have a 10-day forecast. They've really strong topo map platform. That's one of the things that I noticed 2 years ago when I was hunting elk, is that when I was using OnX, I would also look at GoHunt because I was trying to just sort of compare the two. And there were some things that jumped out on the topo map with the GoHunt map platform. They also have a terrain analysis tool that they launched with, which I think is definitely something that is different than a lot of the platforms, where if you want north facing slopes or northwest or northeast or at a certain elevation, even let's say 8,000 feet and above, north facing slope, you can set up the terrain analysis tool that way and it'll show all that. It'll highlight that. And that can be a way to really tune in on some of your e-scouting, or and that's say like early season, a north facing slope might be cooler. As whereas a south facing slope might be a little bit more, a little warmer, that sort of thing. Maybe late season, look more for south facing slopes, early season, north facing slopes, that sort of thing. The one thing that I don't like that GoHunt has been doing is they're putting their research tool and their shop within their app. And I don't feel like that is the right direction. I don't think, like when I'm using the Hunt Map app platform, I don't really need the research. I understand it's like, okay, it's off season. I want to do some hunt research. I want to try to find an elk tag, with I have, 8 points or whatever. I get that, but I don't really I think that that's a bad direction to go in specifically. I think you're it's not helpful. And what it's doing is decreasing the value of the interface on your phone, which is really limited space, and you really want to maximize that. But now I think there was a time when GoHunt would offer the map separately from their membership, and their membership's about $150 a year. I don't know if they still break that out, but so they could or they might not. But the membership's $150 a year. I get it pretty much every year because I do like their strategy articles, and it really helps me stay up to date with changes from state to state to state as things evolve when it comes to the different Western hunt draws. Let's talk about Spartan Forge. I can say that 3 years ago when I did the evaluation, Spartan Forge I think came in dead last. And Bill Thompson, who's the owner, I think he was disappointed by my evaluation, and they were charging, I think, $40 at that time, and it was they have a predictive modeling component of the app, and they had that, but they were also selling the mapping platform as part of that, and that was part of, in fact, that was what I saw and heard a lot from the podcasters that Bill worked with. And so I evaluated it on the merits of the mapping platform, and it was not good. It was not ready. And I don't think that they should have been really promoting it that heavily. And I understand maybe it's maybe the target, I don't know. Ultimately they the last time I evaluated it, which was a year ago, they had made significant strides, but there were still some holes that jumped out to me. One of which was the hunt units like in particular states, like in uh, Pennsylvania, for example. They didn't have that, and that's even for deer hunting. You have all these different units, that sort of thing, and there were some other holes in the platform. They had made a lot of jumps. They really heavily promote the lidar feature. Um, really do like the windrows where it shows sort of historical wind, and that's important to me. And and then if I think they brought out, I don't know exactly when he brought Blue Force Tracker, but I believe the way this Blue Force Tracker works is that if you were hunting with a group, you could see where everybody is within that group, which there's a strong value with that. No, I don't think anybody else really offers that. Um, but recently they've added some fire history. They've been promoting the high res UAV. They've added uh, it's 3 to 7 years, I think, of fire history. I could be wrong with that. Or maybe that might be historical weather, but they also have historical weather built into it now. And then I saw something that I haven't looked at specifically, but they call it Eagle Eye Four-Sided Profile View. So I think it's an opportunity where you can look at a range from 4 different angles. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look deeper into it, but I can tell you that I've noticed it seems like Spartan Forge has made a lot of updates to where they are not really, I would say third in the group. I would say they're, maybe first or second or, somewhere in the mix. And I really I'm looking forward to checking that platform out in December, January, and sort of comparing it again. Because I think there was a time where they didn't have desktop, they didn't have 3D. There just was a lot of things that they didn't have, including units, and it was good, but it wasn't great. But I do see Spartan Forge as a company that really does listen to their users and is trying to evolve and elevate that platform above and beyond what else is out there. And so, hats off to them. And I know that they added Western units when I did my last update or last review of that a year ago. So they do have the Western units. So I'm looking forward to looking at them, and I think it's $60 for a year, and I'm assuming that includes all 50 states. And so I would encourage you, if maybe it might be something to check out if you can get a discount code and just sort of play around with it. But I think it'll be interesting to see where they go, where they are this December when I get a chance to really dive in, and where they go over the next year to 2 years. But lastly, OnX. A lot of people use OnX. $99, you get 50 states. It's the elite membership. You also get access to the Hunt and Fool platform, which is sort of your draw, limited entry, your draw stats, your points, and all that kind of stuff for Western hunts. And I really do like that. I use that a lot. And there's been some. OnX has added their own hunt research tool into I believe it's just on desktop, where you can look for over the counter or limited entry draws, that sort of thing, and the points and all that stuff. I think that that's fine. I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I do look at the folks from GoHunt. There's really sort of the experts on that. But we'll see if OnX sort of develops that segment of their business a little differently. That'll be interesting. One of the things that they did add was rangefinder integration, and so you can use, I think, Lupode. I think that's how you pronounce it. Rangefinders, Lupode, and Sig Sauer. I think also you'll have to double check it, but rangefinders where you point, click, and it'll record it on your OnX app where that marker is from your rangefinder. So if you spot a mule deer, or you shoot, you take a shot, and you want to mark that, it'll mark that on your app, Hunt Map app, instead of you sort of trying to guess. And I think that that's really interesting, and I like that. I don't have a rangefinder by either of those companies, but I think that's a really nice feature there with the integration to use your rangefinder to maybe after the shot or even before the shot. They've added a thing called Terrain X, which is a lot like the terrain analysis tool from GoHunt. In fact, I think it's a copy. But the Terrain X allows you to sort of again shade certain parts of terrain at different elevations, but also it's added viewshed, which viewshed, if you go to Google Earth, is a tool that allows you to see what you can see from a certain glassing point. So let's say I'm at the top of this mountain and I want to glass this north facing slope that's open. Viewshed will allow you to you sort of drop a pin there, and Viewshed will allow you to see what you could ostensibly see from that particular point. And so the value of that, of course, is if you are, say, hunting, for spring bear in a western state, or you're hunting late season and you want to look at south facing slopes and you want a nice glassing spot, or I mean, it could apply to a million different scenarios, of course. It's more of that sort of open country, of course. If you're going to be hunting dark timber elk or hunting dark timber whitetail, well, it's it's not a great. It might not necessarily be a great tool, but that's what Viewshed is, and they've added that to their Terrain X, which I believe is only available on the desktop. They've also have a trail cam integration feature. I think Moultrie. I don't know if there's any others, but it allows you, I believe, to see pics on your OnX app from like a Moultrie camera. And I think that that's interesting. I don't know if it would be a differentiator for me personally, but I think HuntWise offers this as well. And but the great thing about OnX is that it's very applicable to both Western and Eastern hunting. Whereas other platforms like HuntWise, HuntStand, for example, is very whitetail centric. I do see Spartan Forge. They started out as very whitetail centric, but or at least in my opinion, and then now they have evolved to include whitetail and Western even more than they did, a year ago. Or I mean, I think a year ago they made a big jump. But and one of the things that I've always liked about Spartan Forge are the different pins that you can drop. They have a wide range of pins for a very wide range of game, and I think they even have it arranged in a very easy fashion. But and that's a big thing for me as I evaluate these. I want something that works not only for my state, but if I want to hunt Nevada or New Mexico or whatever, I want it to be something that is applicable for game out there, that sort of thing. So it's not just scrapes and rubs here in the East. It's also wallows or mule deer or whatever images and that sort of thing. So it's good stuff. This technology, the Hunt Map apps have, I think, made a big impact on hunting, probably more so than anything else, more so than new bows, or maybe even more so than cell cams. A lot of people don't use cell cams, but I don't know many people that can get by without hunting without a Hunt Map app. Because if you think about when there was a time when if you wanted to go out west and you were like, well, I got a paper map, it would be really hard to feel safe and confident about what the heck you're doing and where you're going and how you get back. Now it's as simple as dropping your tracker, and you've already done some e-scouting, and you kind of know how these ridges or these mountain ranges sort of interconnect, and you know that there's an open area on top of this ridge, or a couple benches over over on the other side of this, or there's water sources. And so it really has changed the game. If you haven't watched any of I would encourage you, if you're interested, take a look at the video that I did about a year ago on Hunt Map apps. And what I do is I record the screen and some of the desktop. And it's a very popular video, very well liked. And I always put chapters in my videos so that you can jump to the things that you want to see. You don't have to sort of scroll or anything like that. So, but really appreciate your all's time, help, and support. Give this podcast a 5 stars. Message me the word detail, get entered into that contest, and we'll talk again next week. Thanks so much. Bye.